Hello, welcome to a new video of Dynasty 1. Today, we're going to talk about Machinist and especially mainly her skill. So her original skill, the Blaze cards, does not scale with her own level. It only scale with the enhancement of her skill. So that's one thing to remember. And as I've talked about, I think in the first that video that I said I got her, and then I was discussing how her damage partnership does not affect her skill. So as we can see right here, 10 out of 15 is 1465 area damage. Obviously, each time she uses her skill, there's 3 of them. And if we look at the level 50, 10 out of 10, you see it is exact same damage. So getting the extra level awakening does not affect her damage in that in her own skill. I think this is because she's a special hero, so she has a special formula to follow. Because most other hero, if their skill is direct damage or direct healing, usually it's scaled with their DPS stat here, the base DPS. That's why if you level them up, they get more damage. Or if you satisfy their damage partnership, they also get more because the DPS increase, so they get more of the damage or healing as well. But she's different, so she doesn't have that. So if you awaken her and trying to level her up and trying to get that attack, that damage higher for her cards, it won't happen. So that's one thing. The other thing is her awakening skill, which increase the range, her basic auto attack range for 15 seconds. Now she does have a cooldown of 15 seconds, so what that means is if she doesn't get struck by the thunder formation, she could literally have her skill have her range increased by 28% or even at max at 60% on forever. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So just by looking at this skill, it seems pretty weak. Well, it's understandable because she is already very overpowered, and if you give her an additional awakening skill that's even more powerful, then she would just become like insanely strong. Now this skill does not actively, or it's not that apparent to give her so much extra power because it's only increasing her auto attack range, but it does change a lot of things for her, and I'll discuss that in further detail in just a bit. So let's switch to our Excel spreadsheet. So right here I listed her damage for her original skill and some of the data for the range increase. So I can look up the level 15 skill. It does 1865 damage per card, and she has 3 cards. So I am just gonna assume these 3 numbers, which usually they increase in the same increments. So what that means is each level she's getting 80 more damage per card, which is very strong. That's because going from 10 out of 15 to 15 out of 15, that's total of 400 through 5 level. That means 80 per level. And the math kind of works out, so I assume that's how it does. And 80 damage is a lot because technically it's 240 because each time she uses her skill there's 3 cards. So that's one thing that you have to keep in mind. It's not just 80, it's actually 240. And she is a passive hero that does damage. If you compare this to most other hero, you will see that this increases a lot because usually passive hero that does damage, they don't give you that much extra damage per level. However, if it's active damage for active hero, which means they can only use it once, they get more damage. So for example, Lu Bu and Guan Yu, they are huge damage dealer, and if you level their skill up, you get about like 100, 200, something like that for that skill. And if it's Lu Bu, you can multiply that by 5. I don't remember exactly how much you get, but then, for example, Guan Yu, I think you get like around 200 each level. Here, you get 240 each level, and you can use it more than once in one battle. So you can see that her skill is her additional skill is already very powerful. And if you have the hero seal that buffs the damage for a card, which is, I don't remember what it's called, but there's one that give you extra damage and extra HP for troops that are spawned by your hero. So the cards that are spawned by machinists consider troops, and they will get the buff, get the HP buff and the damage buff. So her skill can easily go up to 2,000, at least 2,000 damage per card. That's very insane, and that's very worth upgrading as well. So, and it's apparent that if you're gonna awaken her, you want to upgrade her original skill because her original skill does not scale with her own level. So, as I showed you earlier, 10 out of 10 and 10 out of 15 is the same thing, same damage. You do get the extra 10 level to buff her own HP and DPS. I mean, that's also important, but if you're gonna awaken her, you probably want her skill to be as strong as possible. Now, the next thing is the awakening skill. The awakening skill is a little bit weird. It's a little bit odd because none of the other heroes have something like this, increasing range. It's not, as I said earlier, it's not apparently that this is strong, but it is actually very, very useful in a way. And it kind of depends on how you play the game as well. Here's the reason, okay? As a fan hero, her base range is 3 tiles, just as all fan hero is always 3. However, if you can get her up to 5 out of 5, you can get up to 4.8. 4.8 tile is very close to an archer hero. Archer hero has 5 tiles. And range is very important in this game. As you can see, if you look at every other archer hero, look at their stats. Their HP and DPS is way lower than anything. The reason is because they have range well, I guess because they have range, their HP and DPS have to be lower to compensate for this very powerful stats. So your machinist can act as an archer hero with the range, also with the DPS and HP of a fan hero. That's like the best of both worlds. So this is very strong if you can get her to 5 out of 5 because she would behave just like an archer hero. It's only 0.2 tiles away. As you upgrade her awakening skill, she will become more of an archer hero than a fan hero. That means she will walk and behave and position herself like an archer hero. So that's very useful if you think about why archer hero has such a low HP and low DPS, because obviously they can't outrange any defensive structures. There's no defensive structures that's less than this. But maybe a couple tiles would help because of an additional building. Obviously, maybe like the Purgatory Tower is not in front of you, but a couple tiles after the building that you're hitting, maybe because of this 1 point something extra tile could help you avoid that immediate danger. Or simply because your fan hero can act as an archer hero. That will give you so much advantage. Now, this is very critical to how you play. If you have a lot of tank heroes or shield hero, sword heroes, most likely 3 tile range and a 5 tile range won't be a big deal because your machinist will be standing in the back. However, if you use a lot of fan heroes and archer heroes, your machinist will be in risk of getting target first. And it's just how you play in general. But having the ability for a fan hero with the fan hero's HP and DPS to act as an archer hero, you can see that with a maxed out machinist, most archer hero is completely I don't want to say useless, but not as useful because the machinist can basically replace their advantage of having the long range. On defense, this might be even more helpful because let's say there's a wall between your machinist and the attacking fan hero. What that means is your machinist can outrange their fan hero and attack them over the wall, and they can't attack back. They have to break the wall first to come in. So on defense, this might be even more powerful. And just because it can act as an archer hero is very strong. Now, I don't think this is necessarily the first thing you need to upgrade. You probably want to upgrade the damage first because that's a passive skill. She can use it a lot of times, and mostly that's where the damage comes from. To avoid dying, for more survivability, you want to upgrade her awakening skill. As you can see, again, I don't know these exact number, but I know that the first level and the 5th level, I think it's 8% each time. And you can see what's the range after she used her skill. So the first one is 3.84, which is almost 1 tile higher than her own range, but not a lot. And then it's 4.08, which is just 0.2 tile, not even 0.2 tile more than the first one. as you can see, kind of increase slowly by slowly. I mean, it increased by the same amount of range every time because it increased by 8%. So you can see that this can be very helpful at the max level. But if you have to pay 50,000 beats and then 100,000, 150,000, and then 200,000 beats to get these extra amount of tile, might not be as important. Maybe you can get her up to like level 3 or level 4. That will be sufficient. Definitely, that will not be acting as an archer hero at that point. But once you get her to 4.8 tile, pretty close to 5, which is basically the same thing as an archer hero. And they do limit the way this percentage adds up, because as much as 4.8 is close to 5, it is not 5. So she will not act perfectly like an archer hero that can avoid a lot of defensive structures, and it will definitely not be superior to an archer hero, which makes sense because if your fan hero can be even have a bigger range than an archer hero, that would be crazy, that would be insane. But at first, her awakening skill doesn't seem like very strong, or apparently doesn't seem that strong, but it's a very passive upgrade that make her character more survivable and useful in general. So this is it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.